good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Thanks so much for being here. I'm Dan DeFrancesco, the lead writer for our daily newsletter, BI Today. Influencer, podcaster, and now a New York Times bestselling author, Haley Sachs, better known as Mrs. Dow Jones, is a little bit of everything. But at the core of what she does is a simple goal, which is to make finance accessible and understandable to anyone, regardless of their background. Her new book, Future Rich Person, is about exactly that, serving as a step-by-step guide to building wealth, and it's fantastic. Haley, thanks so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be with you, Dan.
Yeah, this will be fun. So I have a ton of questions, but we want to hear from you, the audience. So this is your chance to get some advice from the Mrs. Dow Jones. So drop those questions in the chat, and we'll get to as many as possible. But to start, I want to talk a little bit about your career. So you are really the OG financial influencer.
Yes.
Going on almost 10 years, like full time.
I know.
Which is wild. And through that time, right, we're talking meme stocks, crypto, NFTs, God knows what else. What have you seen? How have you seen the space evolve throughout those 8 years?
You know, when I started, it was, like you said, there were no other financial influencers really. And it was a lot of memes. So I started by making memes, and then it was a different time on Instagram too. So all of the videos were horizontal and like really long. So now it's just sort of this, you know, short video. There's a lot more out there. And I think more than anything, there's a lot of bad advice. Like back then there wasn't that much advice. Now there's almost too much advice. So it's important to know, like, you know, who can you actually trust? Who can you take advice from? Who is a charlatan and who is not? It's
so true. The space is full of so many, you know, snake oil people trying to sell you the next big quick fix. And that's something I really appreciate about the book and your content in general. It's very much like, this is the sound way to do it. This has been proven, kind of follow along. To that point about like the changing narrative, the changing styles, how do you know, okay, this is something that I need to lean into, whether it's a type of content or something, or this is just kind of a flash in the pan?
You know, I think that it is a lot of gut feeling. In terms of content styles, we're always experimenting. I'm sure you are too, with, you know, it's all about getting people to pay attention, and no one really wants to pay attention to their money, Dan. Everyone is managing their finances based on vibes.
Right.
So you have to put the spinach in the brownie mix and figure out how can you dazzle them, how can you get them interested in any way possible. So it could be a celebrity, it could be a trend, whatever it takes, we're gonna do to make sure you get the financial advice straight to your doorstep.
Right, love that. With the talking about trends, I know we're only 3 minutes in, so take the under, but we have to talk about AI. Like, how does AI play a role? A lot of your thing is being so authentic and genuine and speaking to people. So I imagine that's why you maybe lean away from it, but maybe there are use cases. What type of role does it play for you?
You know, we've been really leaning into AI in terms of mining stories. So I have a lot of, like a few things set up on Claude where it will track like, you know, celebrity stories or money stories in the news, which just makes it easier because it used to be so much mining for information. But in terms of voice, I mean, it's like having a great intern or something, but you can't really replicate the voice. And even with the book, like I wrote the whole book, you know? So I think it's important with the writing to keep it from the horse's mouth.
Sure.
But I think that in terms of like all the lead up, it's really helpful to use AI. And then also just in the systems of the company, also really helpful.
Right. That was gonna be my question too, about what type of role did it play with the book, but straight from you, the whole thing as far as.
I like Gemini though for data.
Okay.
So I'm sure, like, I think we use Gemini a little bit like to pull, because it's like, I feel like the best AI in terms of pulling data.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're like, I have a crazy memory for all these things. So it's really helpful to like put in like, oh, Rihanna, you know, almost went bankrupt. What was the, you know, name of her accountant? How much was she, you know, down for, you know, and then it tells you.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you, career-wise or business-wise, is obviously, you know, the book, which again, New York Times bestseller, like, that's incredible.
Thank you.
That's really awesome. Do you tell everybody that? I would tell everybody that.
I'm like loving that you said it because it still gives me chills because it's such a big mountain to climb.
For sure.
But it was definitely a group effort too. So it's like crazy that my name is on the book because it took a village. I have a really good team.
Yeah. Do you get a t-shirt when you make the list or something you wear around town?
You know, Dan, you don't get much. And I was so overwhelmed that I was basically just in the bath for about 5 hours. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna be here. I was like shriveled up, just like, this is crazy.
Yeah. So on to that point, Bo, you have the book, right? The content. You also have to have a podcast. Something I'm
Newsletter.
Newsletter.
Yes.
We love newsletters.
Yeah, newsletter's huge.
Something I'm super interested in with folks in the media space is how do you manage continuing to grow your business but not spreading yourself too thin? Because a lot of times we see with a lot of creators, they want to build these big media empires, bring on new people, and then it starts to get tricky because a lot of the initial people that are there, they're there for you, right? How do you balance that of, I want to grow my business, I want to keep scaling up, but I don't want to lose kind of what is core to what got people here in the first place?
Well, I think that's such a great question, Dan, and I think it really has to come down with like, how can you create that density in your content? And I would like to always have a really small team that's a really good team. I think it really comes down to having the right people around you who really know your voice and can help you scale in a way that is, you know, authentic.
Right.
But I don't want to do too much. Like, even with the book, it was so much to bring that onto the plate and then keep up with everything else that I'm really relieved right now that I can like jump back into content so fully, because that's really what I love and has gotten me here. So I'm not looking to do so many things, but I want to do the things that really matter. So I think it's really about just like choosing the right projects, having the right team around you to help you choose those projects, and then not doing the most. Like when I started with my manager like maybe 6 years ago. Since then, he has like, you know, 5, 6, 7, like X my business. Like it's been amazing. But I was like, okay, I am Bethany Frankel. I am a media empire. When he started with me, I had a book deal. I had a charity. I had like a clothing line. I was doing content, the newsletter. Nothing was getting done right. Everything was sort of in shambles, but I was like, on paper, I'm doing it all. And it's like, you know, you have to slowly build those things in.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's something I talk a lot about with my team. Not that I'm running an empire like you are, but you know, like if you try to do a million things, you don't do any of them good. You don't make any progress. Versus like, let's kind of funnel it down a little bit and be really good at these things. Yeah.
And competency is like so much less valuable than actual good work.
Right.
You know?
Yep, for sure. So we're gonna get to some user questions. The last thing I wanted to ask is, is there anything interesting, exciting in the creator space that you feel like not enough people are talking about, paying attention to? Like, is there some new trend that, you know, we at BI should be aware of that's coming down the pipeline that you're excited about?
You know, I think the biggest trend is just that, like, you know, consumers are not listening to brands anymore. They're listening to individuals. And even celebrities don't have as much power in the advertising space as influencers do. So just like this foray into influencer marketing is so here to stay. It's so powerful. And I think that it's just like getting stronger and stronger. And the biggest thing is just having authenticity and building trust. And especially when you're in the financial space, making sure that you never recommend things that you wouldn't actually use and you haven't tested.
Right.
Like I always say, I influence myself first. I am patient zero. Like it's like anything that I put online, I'm using.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important to just, even as you get bigger or you see all these trends happen, like to stay focused on that.
For sure. All right, so Michael from Oklahoma City, let's start off with this one.
Hey,
which
Michael.
Is interesting. One. So how does one avoid investing in companies that are contrary to your values? So, you know, how do you make money but not, you know, sell your soul doing it? I think it's a really interesting debate, especially with this whole AI thing. A lot of people have strong opinions on AI.
Water. Yeah.
But how do you kind of square that? The idea of, I want to invest and I want to do well and get good returns, but I don't want to invest in things that make me, you know, quite frankly, feel icky maybe.
You know, Michael, it's such a great question, and it's something that I love about Gen Z and millennials investing, because we have so much more of a conscience than other generations. Like, I feel like the past generations are like, put my money in the private prisons,
Sure.
like whatever, as long as we get that 8 to 10% return.
Right.
And it's like, we want to do ESG investing. We want to know where our money, we want to vote with our dollars.
Right.
And, you know, you can do that as a consumer on a small scale. So, you know, making sure you're not buying from Amazon or like other big box stores, and you're supporting your local, you know, businesses, because that's how you keep like the middle class basically alive, which already is dying in America. But then I think in terms of investing, you know, I am hoping, and I think that we will see this trend towards this in the next few years, that we see more index funds that are ESG and like ethical investing focus with lower fees. Because right now it sort of sucks, right? Like if you want to put your money in things that are good, you're actually going to lose out on returns.
Right.
So it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, it's such a good point. The fact that you're kind of paying to try to be a good person, basically, like you have to pay a premium, which is it's a really good point about the fees, and just in general that, like you talked about, there's so much to consider with personal finance on that side. You mentioned millennials and Gen Z. I'm curious because that's obviously the core, I imagine the core of what you speak to.
Definitely.
Do you feel like there are some big differences in the financial challenges that they both face, or do you feel like it's very similar, what millennials face versus what Gen Z faces?
I think that the biggest overlap for both Gen Z and millennials is that we have inherited a system that is broken, and the rules of building wealth are made for an America that doesn't exist anymore. Because the American dream is very dead. Like, we aren't going to stay at our jobs for 30 or 40 years. It's not this easy path of maxing out your 401k, buying a house, then you get to retire. Like, we have crazy student debt. Wages have increased 7% since 2000, but the cost of living has increased 67%. So it's like inflation is just crazy right now. AI is taking all of the, entry-level jobs. Like, and also what we want from our lives is different. Like, we want time, we want freedom, we want ownership. It's so different than just being like locked up in this corporate structure. So I think that millennials maybe are a little bit more old school, but Gen Z is definitely like the more radicalized version of that. And I think that we're also seeing that with these generations, they want to own their own businesses. So in Future Rich Person, what was really important to me was that I included, which I had never seen in another finance book before, really everything that you needed to successfully have your own side hustle or have your own business, like breaking down all of the different tax structures and what it means to be S corp versus other kinds of ways to incorporate yourself. So you have everything in the book if you want to take matters into your own hand and get out of that corporate hamster wheel.
Right. We've written a lot about this rise of side hustle, and obviously AI has just exploded that because now you can spin up an AI agent to do X, Y, or Z. And it is really interesting how it's changing the dynamic versus the boomers that are like, yeah, we get our pension, we work at a company for 30 years, and then that's that. So yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm curious though, when you talk about like the system being broken, and do you feel like that also needs to lead to a change in how we're investing? I guess the side hustle thing is talking about that, but a lot of the stuff you say is traditional as far as like set up your emergency fund, pay off your debt, invest in low fee index funds. But at the same time, if the rules are changing, does that mean there needs to be a rethink around how to invest?
I mean, I think that where you see it the most is in terms of investing in a house, which used to be this pillar of the American dream, and I think it's still sort of seeped into our consciousness.
Right.
But in like most places in America, if you actually invest your down payment money and rent, then you're going to make more than if you buy a house and then try and resell it. Because like your domicile is not really an investment. So I think it's what I really see the difference is that you have to actually run the numbers. Like the American dream was this like systematized sort of path of going about life, right? And it worked for a lot of people. But now it doesn't work anymore. And so you have to rethink it at every turn and actually question it and look at the data.
Right.
Don't look at like what you think that you should do. Look at the actual data.
Right. You can't go off vibes.
You cannot go off vibes. You can't
as much as fun that is.
It's so fun. We love vibes, but like not for money.
Yeah. Kind of kills me inside a little bit that you're saying about the house, because I bought a house a year ago, so that's a tough pill to swallow. But it's all right.
No, but a house
it's a good
is
point.
like you have kids. Like it's like I get like wanting to like raise your family.
Yeah.
It's not that a house is a bad thing. It just is more like, you probably have an investment portfolio too, But it's like for many Americans, they're putting all the money that they would have put into the stock market into their house, and then when they sell it, even if they make a profit, they're not thinking about the fact that they had to pay for that HVAC repair or all of the renovations.
Property taxes every
year. And so it's like, it's the same way like you go on vacation or you go out to dinner or something like that. Like not everything has to be this amazing investment. Money is meant to be enjoyed and to live the life that you want.
Right.
But it's more like as this investment that's going to like create your retirement. I'm not sure it's that.
No, it's a great point. I think we also need a rebrand. Maybe we call renting housing as a service. make it feel cool.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm housing as a service. This is
Housing
fun,
as a service.
You know, and then I go into investing. That's a free
I love
one. You can
that.
keep that.
Okay,
That's
thank
free.
you.
Yeah.
Free game.
You bring about housing too. I think that another interesting question I have for you. So you're a New Yorker, right? Born and raised. How do you feel people should consider the cost of living that comes with a more major metropolis that might offer a lot of opportunities career-wise versus maybe moving to a cheaper place to live that maybe might not have enough? Because when people look at their budget, typically the biggest line item is going to be housing. So if they can move to maybe a smaller town and save on that, that can help them on the financial side, but maybe they lose a little bit on the career side.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially if you're young, you need to go to these big cities and get the opportunities. Like, I have really strong opinions about young people where I'm like, be in the office, drink alcohol, make mistakes, live in a shitty apartment with like too many roommates, and get out of the house every moment that you can and network and build yourself, because you create yourself, right? So it's like you're not going to have that same opportunity if you're in a small town. But that being said, I was very hungry when I was young. Like, you know, I wanted a lot out of my career and my life. If you don't have that same push, then maybe go to the small town. But like, if you want to be a future rich person, if you really want to make money, you want to like, you know, live a life that's bigger, I think there's no way around it. And like, you have later in life to move away.
Right. It's a good point too. Yeah, like enjoy it while you're young. Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, it's also like when you're young, it's like so normal to have a million roommates and like to be like living that sort of life. You know, as you get older, like if you're in your 30s and like you're like, hey, like I'm living in a 3-bedroom with 6 people, it's maybe a little bit different. You know, so take advantage.
Tougher sell.
Yeah, tougher sell.
Yeah. Reminder, get your questions in there. Any personal finance questions, career questions, whatnot. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is, so in the book, kind of right off the bat, you mentioned like the big thing is kind of getting your debt in check, setting up an emergency fund. And I got a kick out of when you get to the investing chapter, you even have like a little banner that's like, if you have not set up an emergency fund, go back, start over, and then go.
Do not pass go.
Do not pass go.
Yes.
I understand how that is super sound and makes sense. I guess where I not run into issue, but where I feel like people who are just trying to get by, it's frustrating to take, or maybe it's discouraging when you take maybe $20 a month and you put it in a savings account when you see some of your friends putting it in the stock market. And how do you couch like, look, this is really, you need to set up the emergency fund. You can't start thinking about the other toys. You need to kind of get base one when it's like, well, look at all the fun stuff going on over there. Like, I want to get there.
Totally, I get that. I think like comparison is so difficult in the financial space, and you see it, of course. I mean, you're talking about it in a really great way, which is like when you're jealous of someone investing. I'm thinking about it in terms of like social media, when you see someone like on vacation or with an outfit that you want, and that makes you spend money. But I think you have to understand that everything is relative, and that you're on your own journey. Like I do a segment on Instagram where I break down how much like a rich person's purchase is for a normal person. So it's like, okay, for Harry Styles, he just bought Zoe Kravitz an engagement ring for $1 million, which sounds crazy. You might be jealous of, oh, I want $1 million engagement ring. But when you actually look at that compared to his net worth, it's the same percentage of his net worth as it would be for a normal American making like $56,000 a year, spending around $5K on an engagement ring, which is the average, which is a lot. And so, you know, it's all relative. You can't compare yourself to someone else because you don't know their whole picture.
Right.
You know, and also you need to understand that if you invest before you have an emergency fund and then you have an emergency, the stock market does go up over time, but it could be down in the moment that you need to pull the money out.
Right.
And so, in which case you put in $100, now it's $50, and you're going to be like, Haley, what the hell?
Right.
What? You told me to invest. You said I was going to make money. It's like, no, you were going to make money over 5 to 7 years. I didn't say you're going to make money in a year.
Contrary to popular belief, it doesn't always go up and to the right.
No, you have to, volatility is the tax that we pay for getting to grow wealth in the stock market.
Right.
So you have to hedge that bet. It's like creating the safety net.
You mentioned the stock market. The big news tonight, tomorrow.
IPO.
SpaceX.
Stay far away.
I saw your reel. Yeah, maybe
Not
share the
into
rumors
it.
about what your pitch is on why you think it's not a good bet, at least on day one.
I never buy. Actually, I bought one IPO, which was Bumble, because I was just like, this is freaking cool. Like, I want a piece of this. Like, I love Whitney. I know it hasn't done well, but I stand. It was an emotional investment.
Sure.
But yeah, I would not be buying the SpaceX IPO. It's so overvalued. Like Morningstar put its value at actual fair market value at like 40 or 50% of what it is actually being valued at. Also, Elon has so much control of the company, so shareholders aren't even going to really get to have a say. It's really unchecked. And then also just in general, IPOs, I feel like in this day and age in 2026 are really to make the people who have already invested rich. It's not to make the regular investor rich. And I also get weary, Dan, whenever anyone is telling me to do, like when something is too hyped up. Like Fidelity made it, you have to have
200,000.
Yeah.
Down to 2,000.
Yeah, like the brokerages are making it too easy for you to invest. It's like I was in like random ass Florida yesterday to speak at a conference, and I'm like, it's blazing hot on this boardwalk, and I saw this guy wearing a SpaceX shirt, and it's like, people are buying into the hype so much, but they're not looking at the fundamentals, and that's the key to growing wealth, is to not follow the hype, but to look at the numbers.
Right. There's an old saying, I would never be a member of a club that would have me. It's
Woody Allen.
If you want me in this, I don't want to be in it. I want to invest in the thing that like, no, you're not allowed in it.
Yeah.
When you're opening it up to the masses and be like, this is great. It feels like something's not passing the sniff
Yeah,
test
there's
there.
something nefarious about it.
Yeah.
And also, like, you can buy it in a month.
Right.
Right,
exactly. Yeah.
I'd rather buy the Knicks, because Madison Square Garden is actually public. The company that owns the Knicks is public. And I think that is undervalued, where it's at $9 billion. And I think that it is way too low, because if it's the Knicks and the Rangers, and if you broke up those teams and sold them on the market, they're both going to go for more than those are huge teams, huge franchises. Sports are so AI-proof, live sports. Like that, I'm more bullish. If you want to do a cool investment, you have the urge, buy the Knicks.
Joe Cioli, our first trade, our markets newsletter writer, wrote a big thing about MSG, about the potential there. And yeah, as a lifelong Knicks fan.
Oh my God, the game was so good.
Incredible.
It was insane.
Incredible.
I know.
All right, so Catherine asks, for a woman over 50 who are just getting serious about investing, maybe after a divorce, career change, never being taught it, what's the single most important move to make first to start building real wealth? Because again, this is not a 22-year-old. This is someone who's hopefully close to retirement. How do they get in the game?
It's gonna sound so silly, Dan, but it really is so much about mindset. So the first part of my book is all about your money mindset, because I can teach you anything. I mean, of course, the first thing that you're supposed to do is build your emergency fund. Then after that, pay off your high interest rate debt. Then after that, we do investing. But you're never gonna be able to make any of those moves if you don't first work on your money mindset, which is set by the time that you're 7 years old. So if you're coming into the game at 50, which by the way is not too late. I just had a woman who is 58. I was working with her. She is so in control of her finances. She married her husband at like 18. He always took care of the money. He died. And now is in control. And she's like never felt more empowered. It's so possible. But first thing she had to do was work on her belief system. Understand why she is the way she is about money. Why have I avoided it for this long? I have a whole system in the book called Ibiza, which is a 5-step money mindset program, and it walks you through exactly how to do that.
Right. Yeah, it's a great point about the mind has to get there before the money even gets there.
Yeah, and the rest of it is so easy. Like the actions, I say in the book, I'm a financial dominatrix. I'll make this very easy for you. Do what I say. You will become a future rich person, but it's like, that part is not complicated. The money moves. People think, oh, I got to be, up trading with China and, following all these different stocks. It's like, no, just buy low cost index funds, set up some automations. You need about 7th grade math. You're good.
Yeah.
But it's really all about, how do I think about money? What are my beliefs? What am I doing that I'm not even aware of?
Kathy was talking about divorce. You're talking about potentially losing a spouse. You had a really interesting post on your Instagram about Dua Lipa and her prenup. What are things that young people need to think about as far as getting in a relationship and talking about finances? Is it like first date, we're opening up 401ks and showing them off, or what's your mindset on that?
I don't think that you need to open up your 401k on a first date. I've noticed that, when money comes up in a relationship is usually when you're at a turning point that has a financial question mark. So like it might be your first vacation where it's like, what level hotel are we doing? Are we doing Airbnb? And like, what's your budget versus mine? It could be you're getting an animal, you're moving in together. Those moments where your finances really become intertwined is where, money becomes a conversation. But in general, who you marry or who you're partnered with is the biggest financial decision of your life that will either bring you up or completely take you down. And what I think is so crazy is that most people never have the money conversation before they get married, and marriage is a business contract. So it's like if you and I were starting a company together, we would certainly have like lawyers reviewing our agreement. We'd be very like litigious about how are we splitting things up. But people get so emotional and freaked out about money that they just don't do it. But in many states, if you marry someone and they have debt, you're marrying their debt. Who you marry is not who you divorce.
Right.
So, you know, you want to get everything straight before you even, you know, go into the marriage. And it also brings up red flags. You know, with Dua Lipa, Calum Turner was more than happy to accommodate her. She has an $120 million net worth. He has a $5 million net worth. It's clear he's not there for the money. He's there because he loves her, because he's like, fine, I'll sign whatever you want. I just want to be with you.
Right.
But there's a Real Housewife, Kelly Ben-Simone, who my Bravo fans know, who was engaged to this guy. She was on TV raving about him. I love this guy. We're engaged. But she's really had a hard financial journey. So she was really adamant about a prenup, and he didn't want to get one. She walked away. So, you know, it also is a good way for you to understand, like, what's this person really about?
Right. Speaking of Bravo, what would be your financial advice for Kyle Cook of Summer House?
Oof, Kyle's in a tough place. That's a good question. I think that he should sell Loverboy, like liquidate it. And I would, if I were him, I would just get out of things as quickly as possible. And like, because he's
gotten out of one thing, so.
Yeah, got out of one thing. But I think that one of my favorite financial terms is don't cry about spilled milk if you didn't lose the cow. So what that basically means is like, you know, we all are going to make financial mistakes. Like, you know, financial experts, normal people, whatever it is, Warren Buffett, like you're going to it's not always going to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be, but you have to bet on yourself and know that like you are the actual money making machine. And like, as long as you still got you have the opportunity to start again. And so he didn't lose the cow, right? And he actually he has so much brand equity, like Kyle. Yeah, he, especially right now, people feel for him. He had a really bad arc at the beginning of the season. Now he's like totally redeemed. She's the villain. So I'm like, get the divorce as quickly as possible. Get out of that business, which is just taking so much time, dragging you down, and start rebuilding. You can get amazing brand deals. You might have to hustle for 3 years, 5 years, but you can get yourself out of this hole. And then, you know, I think that having bad things happen to you actually makes you so much stronger. It's not going to happen to him again.
It's a good reset for him, you know? And then, like you said, he's never been higher as far as like popular appeal. So why not leverage that, you know, drop the dead weight and keep it moving.
And I feel like he's never going to get married again without a prenup.
No, I think that's for sure.
But you also have to know when to sell. It's a good thing, because it's like Loverboy, I feel like he could have maybe gotten money for it, but he missed the peak.
It's such a common mistake with a lot of young companies.
I think 818 too, Kendall Jenner's company, we see it too, where it's like, where's the acquisition?
Right.
You know, and there was a moment where it was so big, and now it's like, it's sort of just, I mean, I know Gen Z's not drinking, start drinking, but it's like, you know, you have to know exactly when to sell.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Warren Buffett there. I know he's a big part of your life.
Yeah, he's my boyfriend.
Mentioned in the book.
Dedicated
In the book. Has there been a meetup yet?
There's not been a meetup, but I would actually, it's why I'm sort of here. I know that you have connections.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Warren, if you want to come down.
Can someone please do that to me?
What's the holdup? Warren, what's the holdup? I know you're watching.
Yeah, we know you're watching.
What's
Warren.
the beef? Why are we not hanging out?
What's the
with
beef?
Haley?
I mean,
New York Times bestselling author.
Has
there been any reach out as far as trying to make a connection, or?
You know, I know his grandson's wife, and I made a joke to her that I was his girlfriend, and I think he does have girlfriends, and so she was like, "Oh, like." That's so weird. Like, you're not like his type, because I think he likes like a busty blonde, which obviously I'm like a Jewess, and so different vibes. But you know, she's really my closest connection, and she hasn't really been so eager to put me in the room.
I mean, do we just make a trip out to Omaha?
I think I'd make a trip to Omaha. I feel like you're right that now that the book is over, and it was New York Times bestseller, I maybe didn't get a T-shirt, I didn't get a trophy, but I can leverage that to then be like, hey, I'm bringing your principles to the next generation. Because he really did make me Mrs. Dow Jones, like reading his shareholder letters, understanding his views of the market, how he values things. He's so unemotional. Like, this is so
funny, like you.
He's funny. Thank you. We both love a Coca-Cola. I like a Diet Coke. He likes a cherry Coke.
It's perfect.
We need to go to Dairy Queen.
Passing of the baton. I mean, I think it makes complete sense. Warren, I know you're watching. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it
Let's make it happen.
Enough of this will we, won't we.
Yeah. Well, all right, here's
We're the
how
Ross and Rachel of finance.
here's how we can get them going. Is there a alternative? Is maybe do you pivot to some other financial,
like Chamath?
You know, like you tell me. I don't know who's on the bench.
It's hard because it's like, I mean, Bloomberg. And Bloomberg looked hot last night next to Timothy Chalamet at the Knicks
they
game.
had spilled into him,
Yeah.
held him up.
I know. I'm like, damn. So, and Bloomberg, great snacks if you ever go to Bloomberg.
Yes.
The man really knows how to host.
And he's there. He's around. He's
walking
around. He sits right with the people. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say Bloomberg.
Local too.
Local as well. And then, I go for McKenzie.
Okay.
Mackenzie Bezos. I love Mia Melinda Gates.
Okay.
I'm going for these amazing women who are just using their wealth so for good.
Yes.
That's who. So I think that's like my bench. It's good to have a roster.
It's good to have a roster.
Yeah.
So Warren, move fast or
move fast. Yeah.
Too late.
It's true.
You'll be missing it.
Yeah. You're missing it.
What advice, you talk about this in the book about, getting your money, right? You get your money set and then you maximize the amount of money you can. What's the advice you have for young people, middle-aged people, wherever they are in their career journey about asking for a raise?
First of all, I think it is so important to ask for more money. And it's something, I have a whole chapter in the book called Secure the Damn Bag. because seriously, everyone's being underpaid.
Sure.
There is a floor to how much you can cut, especially for women. We are told so much that financial success means depriving ourselves. Cut the latte, no avocado toast, rewash your paper towels, don't get a manicure. And it's like, what about just freaking earning more money? In my own life, I've seen it that what has really helped me financially? Making more. Making more. And I always say you only have a set amount of financial energy every day, right? Like you wake up, you might want to take on the world, you're going to organize your finances, you're going to max out your Roth IRA, you've got so much chutzpah towards this. And then it's like, okay, catch you at 3 p.m., you're in the break room, eating a cookie, you couldn't care less, you don't know what your login is, and it's, you lost that feeling, you lost that momentum. And so whenever you have that momentum, you need to use it towards things that will actually move the needle for you, not towards things that are just taking your energy that aren't actually 20, 30 years from now going to change your financial life.
Right.
So if you want to ask for a raise, the first thing you need to do is create a wins folder. So that means that every time at work, something good happens, you do something good, put it in the wins folder, because I guarantee you your boss is not keeping track. I run a team, I don't know what anyone's doing.
Same.
Just kidding. But it's you know what I mean? It's I need you to remind me. Yeah. I have a vibe. I'm keeping track, but it's not so here.
Yep.
And you need to, so you need to come in with an argument for why you make more money. Also understand it is normal to negotiate your salary. It is normal to ask for a raise. It's not something to be embarrassed about. This is something that's actually on the other side, if I'm hiring someone and they don't negotiate, it makes me feel like they are not someone that I want to hire. It's a green flag.
Sure.
So normalize it, write down your accomplishments, normalize it. And then this is a great opportunity to use a chatbot. If you're someone who has a little bit of stage fright about asking for a raise, practice.
Right.
Say, go in Claude, go in chat and say, hey, this is a company that I work for. This is what I make. This is how much I want to make. Can you, go back and forth with me about this? But it's also important to know the benchmarks of what other people in your job are earning. So, look, and that information has never been more, at your fingertips. You go on Glassdoor, you use AI, and know that, okay, here's the baseline.
Or just fill job listings. Now, legally, a lot of states, they have to post the range.
Yes.
Job looks similar to yours. This is what the market rate is.
Totally.
And then also, I think, to your point, it's important to have these conversations, as difficult as it might be, not only because you want to get paid more, but also you understand where your standing is in the company. Because then your boss might come back and say, no, you're not. And then all right, well, now I know what they think of me, and maybe it's time to move on.
That's also big. You can't have sunk cost fallacy. I talk about that in the book, where it's you can't, just because you've been at a job for a long time does not mean you need to stay there. If they cannot pay you more money, get out.
Right.
Of course, I talk about in the book BATNA, which is the best alternative to negotiated agreement. So that you could ask for better title. You could ask for, more days working from home. You could ask for them to pay for, skills that you want to get, courses. But at the end of the day, if they can't give you more money and you're doing a good job, which really is the core of this, you don't just deserve a raise because you're there. You deserve a raise because you're doing a good job. But if they can't increase your salary and you did everything that you said that you were going to do that could get you to that benchmark, you got to get out.
Right. You talked before about like wanting to play with all the fun things and getting distracted. I feel like it's never been harder to not get distracted than it is now. We have the prediction markets. We have, DraftKings, which is not obviously an investment, but like that, there's just so many ways, and people are looking for those moonshot hits, especially because they feel like the system is against. What would be your advice, or what's your pep talk to our viewers about like, keep your eye on the prize. Like, don't get distracted by that crazy naked options bet that you think is gonna, deliver you 20x returns when in actuality it's just a loser's bet.
You just nailed it, to be honest, where you talk about all these get-rich schemes, which they are, and you talk about the fact that people are doing them because they feel like the system is against them. And that is so true. And I have a whole part of the book about this, about what I call learned financial helplessness. And so the idea is, okay, the American dream is dead. The system is set out for me to lose. We're on a floating rock. The world is burning. I might as well just like try and, gamble and try and hit it big, or maybe I'm gonna like use buy now, pay later to finance my Coachella tickets. I don't need to plan for the future. I shouldn't, be thinking long term. I just need to sort of like live free, die young, whatever it is. And, it's really, I understand where that comes from, but there's still so much opportunity to win. And that opportunity is never from these systems, because you're not the one who's winning. The house is always winning. And I honestly, this is why I'm so obsessed with the data and numbers, because if you look at the data for any of these companies, the sports gambling companies, the prediction market companies, even if you get something right, like say last night you placed a big bet, it was game 4, you're like, the Knicks are going to win. They're going to come back after this crazy, Spurs are killing them.
Do you have access to my DraftKings account? How'd you
well, good for you. Lunch is on you then. Even if you get all that right and you make a lot of money.
It goes right back in.
Exactly. So you could be up today, but then you're going to be like, oh, well, guess what? I'm an amazing predictor. So I might as well keep on predicting.
Forget the raise.
And, that's you. It's such an addictive cycle. So, I think that, investing is very different than gambling. One is entertainment, one is wealth building.
Yeah. So no rebrand to Mrs. Kalshi, Mrs. Polymarket, not in the books for you.
No, but I am on Financial Tea podcast going to be interviewing the CEO of Kalshi. So I'm very excited to talk to her, and that is breaking news. But
heard it here first.
Yeah, heard it here first. But I think, prediction markets are amazing, and there was a whole report from the Federal Reserve about how they actually use the data from prediction markets to like understand what's happening better, but it is not a way to build wealth.
Right.
Yeah.
The opposite end of the spectrum is the fire people, fire mentality.
Which I beef with them. There's like videos on YouTube being like pictures of me like on the thumbnail, like, no.
Well, let's talk through what is, because it is very popular with a lot of readers, but interestingly enough, we've done stories about people that do hit fire, and then they're kind of like, what do I do for the next 40 years? Like, okay, I scrammed and scratched and sacrificed for, the first 20 years, the fun years, so to speak, and now I have all this money, but like now none of my friends can hang out. Like I'm hanging out with boomers.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on why are you, what's your beef with fire?
My beef with fire is that I do not believe that in order to grow wealth, it has to be so extreme. And I think that mindset is actually what keeps so many people out of the game. And so I basically look at fire as like financial anorexia, where it's like you're being so extreme, it's so much deprivation. And then what makes me more upset is that it's sort of like being a trad wife, where, the people who are telling you to be a trad wife are making so much money on being a trad wife. The people who are telling you to do fire are not actually retiring early. They're fire bloggers. They're fire influencers. They're making millions of dollars still, And so the whole thing is a sham. I mean, it doesn't even sound that bad to hang out with boomers. I just think it's like the quality of life that I want is not to live in a van. That couldn't be me.
Right.
And I get it. It's scrappy. If that's your life, that's amazing. But like, I don't want that. And I also don't think that you need to like go for that, know?
Sure. We're gonna wrap up here, but before we go, do you feel like you've financially made it personally?
You know, it's very interesting because when I look at the title of Future Rich Person, I think a lot of people think that that's like a number or, you know, it's a yacht or something like that. But to me, Future Rich Person is really about money. To me is power and it's control. And especially as a woman, like we were not allowed to have our own credit cards till 1974. We could not open our own bank accounts for businesses till the 80s. We are these first generations of women who are really financially empowered and have control of our lives. So Future Rich Person to me is about understanding that my future can be whatever I want it to be because I have money, and that means that I am like holding the paintbrush and the canvas can be whatever I want it. And so for me personally, it's not a number. It's about balance because I am very obsessed with my career. I love being Mrs. Dow Jones. I want to be Mrs. Dow Jones forever. But I think having a lot of one thing is a lot harder than having some of many things. And so as I get older and I think about having a family and things like that, it's about how can Future Rich me is about like financial stability, but also creating systems and like a world with which I can do more than one thing really well.
For sure. Once again, the book is Future Rich Person, New York Times bestseller. Haley Sachs, this was great. Thank you so much for joining us. Come back to join me tomorrow. I'll be here with my colleague Joe Cioli talking all about the SpaceX IPO. We'll see you then.
Stay rich.